Welcome to another episode of Candid Moments with Candace. Today I'm excited to highlight a leader, a vision coach. So she's my friend. And so my guest today is a leadership vision coach, HR, cultural consultant, and meditation for small to medium-sized businesses. She's a speaker, trainer, and author, but she is so much more, and she has a great vibe about her. Former Toastmaster or current Toastmaster. Please help me welcome Lisa Wilson to the microphone. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Candace, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to see you.
This is so nice. The last time we saw each other, if my calculation is right, was Toastmaster Conference, Spring District 86 in 2018.
Yes, that's when you got the award, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, that's the one.
Are you still a Toastmaster?
I sure am. The Timmins Club struggles at times. We're a small community and lots of people working on shift work, so it's hard to keep the club open.
Yeah.
So I stay in the club and it keeps me practicing.
Oh, good. How is that conducting the meetings over Zoom?
You know what? I've gotten used to it. We've been doing what we call a hybrid club for about 4 years already. So before COVID hit, we were in person in Timmins, but we had people coming in from outside online. So we got really good at the hybrid. So the switch to Zoom wasn't huge for us, other than those of us who really miss, obviously driving in together. Like I used to pick up one of the girls and drive together. So I missed that social time, but we've managed to keep going. I think a little bit of the momentum sort of dropped because when you're not in person, people aren't as keen to do their speeches. So it's been, yeah.
You don't get that audience participation. Like the vibe is different when you can't actually look the person. Like, yes, you can look them in the eyes, but it's over a screen. I couldn't imagine. Like I do my show online, but it's
it's a little, well, it's not as bad as you think. You do get used to it. And what I've learned to do is to be as in the audience, I make sure my camera's on and I laugh so that they can see me laugh, even though they can't hear me. We don't, we obviously don't unmute, because if there were 12 of us unmuted, it would be terrible.
Oh.
but at least they can, when I laugh, they can see me laugh. So I try and be a good audience member in that way, because I know that feeling where you're trying to present. I have a really big screen. I have a presentation at noon today, so I have this really big screen, which is great. But when I'm on Zoom and I share something, the whole screen is what I'm sharing, and the people end up over here. So I'm constantly looking this way. So I always warn them at the beginning, look, when I'm doing this, I'm looking at you. Because the screen is so big that I'm like, yeah, it's so you don't see, it looks like I'm not looking, but I am actually looking. That I think is the biggest issue. Is sometimes though you get really good audience members. Yeah. And I try and be one so that they know I'm laughing when it's funny, that they, if they say something I agree with, I nod my head, and just to kind of show that interest.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So today I wanted to highlight one of your recent projects.
Sure.
Are you an author, a co-author? I didn't get the whole story, but that's why I want to ask you in person.
Yes, that's okay. I'm a co-author actually in 3 books.
Okay.
So I met a wonderful woman in Portland, and we started, the first book was, she wanted to start a global women's movement to talk about women's leadership. And so she started the book. It didn't go as far as we'd hoped it would. She had some big plans for it, but they kind of fell through. Her life sort of fell apart a little bit. But the book is great. The other women that joined us, it's wonderful. I have to look back at what it's called. It's called Her Global Voice. You can find them all on my website, but it's called Her Global Voice. And I started with talking about, I had half my thyroid removed about 8 years ago now. And everything in me told me not to have that removed. I had almost a panic attack thinking about having it. I got a second opinion. They were like, no, it's fine. It's growing, get it out. We don't know why it's growing so fast. So I shared the beginning of that story in there. And then I've shared more pieces the longer I'm sort of away from it in 2 other books. One is called Heal. It's a book put out by Your Holistic Earth. It's a group of companies. Well, this woman decided she had had a health issue as well. She wasn't getting the help she needed from doctors. And so she was looking for this alternative healing. And what she did was she created a company where all these holistic healers could come together, and she has like a list of all the healers. And then what she realized was they weren't scaling their business. So she brought people like me in to help them scale their business. And then all of those business owners, she has them come together and write their story in a book called Heal. And I think they're on Heal at like 4.0 or something now. So they do one every year. And last but not least is a book called Detox. And I'm in the third book in Detox with a gentleman named Corey Poirier. And so in all of these, I just sort of share more to this story of having my thyroid removed and the fallout of that. Because the fallout, number one, it was a mistake. So everything in me told me not to have that thyroid removed.
Okay.
And they only took out half. So luckily I have the other half that's functioning. So I can still do that. But like I had a panic attack and then I just talked myself out of the panic attack. I did get a second opinion. They said, no, keep going, get it removed. It's better to have it removed. It's not going to hurt you, whatever. And it really did hurt me. I basically for 7 years, I was tired, and for no medical reason. I've had everything tested. They look for Hashimoto's, they look for all these different things. I don't have any of it. They tell me that my thyroid levels are normal. But the best explanation I have for it was from a naturopath. And she says that my adrenals just burn out really, really easily. She said they probably always did, but I'm so high energy that people wouldn't notice. Like I would just take a weekend, every now and then you just sort of take a weekend and rest.
Yeah.
And I didn't really think anything of it. But she said it's probably been happening my whole life. It was just now it was more pronounced. So I couldn't do anything anymore. I can do where I used to do like P90X and CrossFit, and I ran a half marathon and I bike and do all these things. I can't do it anymore. If I do it, I burn my adrenals. And so I can actually physically do it. So I could probably still physically run a half marathon,
Okay.
but I would be burnt out for the next week, likely. Because even just a half-hour bike ride now sometimes puts me on the couch for 2 days.
Oh, wow. So your adrenals, those are glands.
Yep.
Where are they situated?
I'm not really sure, actually. I need to look that up. Basically, they kind of run all of your hormones. And so whenever my hormones come out of balance, they burn out. And then I just need to rest, and literally rest for 2 days on the couch. When I first came out of the surgery, for like the first 2 or 3 years, if I would try and go back to even like an hour of yoga, and then I would sit on the couch for 2 days straight.
Oh my gosh. So
yeah,
how I can relate to that is when you said hormones in your adrenals. So the thyroid,
yes,
I have like, I don't know, it's like this mild issue, but it's not an issue with my thyroid. But anyway, when you said hormones, I instinctively thought, oh my God, yeah, well, my adrenals are working this week, as like I just feel like in my 30s, or it doesn't matter how old you are, as a woman, you feel those hormones, and they might be working properly, they might be a little bit off, or you just might feel like you're just mad.
yes.
You know what I mean? And as we age, those hormones change. Did you feel that?
Yeah. So mine, I was in my 30s at the time. So for me, it was a huge shift, right? Like it was all of a sudden. Yeah. So because I was already in my 30s, I hadn't noticed to that point. Like I was still very high energy. I'd never, like, PMS. I when people talk about PMS and it making your moods change, I thought it was ridiculous. That has never happened to me before in my life. Okay. I never got tired. Now I definitely have PMS. I get really tired the 2 days before, and I can tell, like, I know now when everything's happening. I know when I'm ovulating. I know just before my period's coming. I know all of those things because I can feel it in my system. Like I get really tired. Right when I'm ovulating, I'll feel tired, and then again when I'm right before my period now, which it was never a thing for me. I always just had energy. Like it never changed hormonally for me. Now all of a sudden it really, really does. And it was huge. Like for 4 years, I kept trying to go back to working out, and I would be like, okay, I'll just do this 10-minute trainer. So this, the same guy that does P90X does this 10-minute trainer. And I was like, perfect, I'll do 10 minutes. Okay, next week I'll do 15. And the week after I'll do 20. Well, as soon as I got to 20, I burnt out again. I was back on the couch and I had to start all over again. And so it took a long time to just accept that, okay, you can't do this anymore. It just is. So now I walk my dog every morning. So 20-minute walk with my dog and then some kind of exercise. But the emotional that comes with that is huge.
Right?
Yeah.
And we push ourselves so hard. Like it doesn't matter what we're going through, but
yeah,
just like you said, like I'll try to increase it by 5 minutes, and just because I can do it, I'm just going to push it.
Yeah.
And when you burn out, like when you reach your limit,
yeah,
because we all have limits and they're all
Yes.
different. We're just trying to find some sort of balance.
yeah.
So have you found your balance, Lisa?
Yes and no. So it's really interesting that you and I are talking right now, because I've gone through another period. I think it was, I have a bit of anxiety around coming out of COVID.
Right.
And it's not fear of COVID. It's not any of that. It was the nastiness I'm seeing from people online. I had to take a social media break because just people are
I
just,
don't blame you.
yeah, writing absolutely horribly nasty things. And I don't care which side you're on. That's not my thing. It's just the nastiness. And it started making me scared to go back out in the world and even see some friends. You know, I was like anxious about going to visit a couple of friends who I know are really careful. So it's like nothing COVID related. It's just, what if we disagree? And so interestingly enough, it's put me back into a bit of a cycle.
Okay.
And so a couple of things happen, and I won't be able to explain this well. You'll need someone a little more sciencey than me.
Okay, that's okay.
So what happens is I get really tired really fast. So my adrenals take over. So my cortisol levels rise. So I think your adrenals are kind of a group of I won't say not organs, but they're like a group of pieces, yeah, in your body that, so it regulates, it sends my cortisol up. I'm tired, but I need to keep moving. So it spikes my cortisol. So my cortisol goes up and then it stays up. It doesn't come down. So I then so just an example, in the last couple of days, I get really, really tired by say noon or 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, and like really tired. I don't know how I'm going to keep moving. And if I have the opportunity, I'll go have a nap. And it's happened 3 times in the last 2 weeks where I fall asleep and wake up having no idea where I am. And I've only been sleeping for like 5-10 minutes, but I've just shut down so hard and so fast that I wake up going, where am I?
Were you at home?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
I don't actually no. One time I was at the acupuncturist. So and I woke up and I was like, oh yeah, there I am. Okay. I just had one of those moments, but I'm falling asleep so hard and so fast. But then when I go to sleep at night, so I've had that nap, my adrenaline or my cortisol levels are spiked back up. And so I'll try and sleep, and you can feel your heart beating in your whole body. Like it's just, your body wants to go do a run, but I know physically my body can't do that. So I have this weird, I'm never sure in those moments whether I should work out or not. Because if some days, if I do the workout and I do a heavy workout or like run for 10 minutes just to get rid of the adrenaline and the cortisol, when I run, and then I won't make the day. So it's really hard for me to figure out, do I like run this out right now, or do I rest and do something different? So I still move every day. What I'll do instead is I'll do Qigong. It's just slower movements and stuff, and a little more flowy. So you're still moving your body, but so sometimes
like
I'll
Tai
do
Chi?
Yeah, it's like Tai Chi.
Okay.
I would say fairly close to that. But it's more about energy centers in your body. I think Tai Chi is just slower movements from what's the right word for that? From like karate and things like that. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Whereas Qigong is more about centering yourself and and bringing energy back. They refer to your chi, which is moving around, which is the same thing they do in acupuncture.
The chi, is that like your center?
Yes, yeah, your energy centers.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm more of like a high level impact, like Zumba, salsa class. I need to I move, but like a friend of mine, my episode last week when Mickey was talking about anxiety and sleep and meditation. And I was like, okay, so this past few days I've been putting on a meditation before bed. Sometimes I forget to pay attention to it and just go back to my breathing because I'm so caught up in here. There's too much going on. I just I'm still learning how to shut that switch off.
Yeah.
But that's not. Do you practice meditation?
I do actually. I meditate for at least 20 minutes every morning. I used to be more specific about it, but now I just sit quiet for 20 minutes. So some mornings my brain is busy, and I just can't stop it. Other mornings I can fully get in that space where I'm just silent with myself.
Good.
But what I will tell you, when those thoughts are running, so here's the beginning of when you first start meditating, what people will do will be like, no, stop thinking, no, stop, so then you stress yourself even more. So what someone taught me along the way, I've been doing meditation in different ways for a lot of years. And so what someone taught me was to just take those thoughts and put them in a bubble and let them float away.
Okay.
So then it's kind, and it's like, okay, I hear you thought, and I trust that you'll come back later. Because the other thing that used to happen is I was like, ooh, I just had a really great thought, right? What if I forget?
I have to go make a note.
Yeah, I gotta go make a note right now. Yeah, because that's also the time when my best ideas come through. So I have a presentation to give at noon today, and they wanted me to talk a bit about empathy. And I can come at empathy in 100 different ways. And so I've been going back and forth on how I'm going to do this presentation. And then I was sitting meditating, and the thought just came to me, okay, focus on only these 3 things. You only have an hour. If you try and give them everything, it'll be too much. So I just broke it down to these 3 things. And that came because I was meditating, and I just gave myself a moment to breathe.
Cool.
And so sometimes those great thoughts come, and then I just say, okay, great, thanks for the thought. And I'll just keep meditating and let my mind go blank now. And I know I will remember it later.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
See, that's a learning process, and it
Yes.
comes with time and practice, I'm sure.
Yes.
There's an app called Headspace, and I remember it saying when you were breathing, and if there was a thought that came into your mind, don't just stop thinking. It would say, okay, be mindful that there's a thought and just put it aside, kind of putting it in that bubble, like you said.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the impact that these books have had on people, and how other people can empathize with you. Maybe this brainstorming will help you at noon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yes. So all of the books are, so the Heal book is fairly obvious. It's really about people's stories of healing and what that looks like. And for me, the story of healing was more emotional than it was physical. Obviously there was some physical, it was there, but it was more worst for me was the struggle of trying to go back to who I was and not recognizing that I'd become another person. And I was thinking about you today because I thought, oh, Candace told me that happens. when you gave your first speech in Toastmasters, when you were first going in the competition, I heard that speech I don't know, probably 20 times. And one of the things you said in that speech was that after you had your injury, that your whole personality changed.
Yeah.
And this, and the what I think you called it, that you went from the sweet girl to someone who said things that the old Candace never would have said.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it on this show because we're recording.
Yeah. And I thought, you know what, some of that happened to me as well. Obviously mine is not as drastic, but some of that happened as well. My personality changed. I remember a friend being here and she said something that I disagreed with, and I jumped all over her. And I was like, who is that? At the time I was on Synthroid. And so was trying to boost my thyroid hormone, but it boosted it too high, and it made me very aggressive. And I'm already a little aggressive anyway. Like I tend to lean that way anyway. But with this, it was like, whoa, who is that? And now in those low moments, I get grumpy. So yeah. So in the Heal book, it's all stories like this. When I'm trying to think of some of the other stories that are in that particular book, but it's all stories of people who have gone through some form of healing. One woman tells a story of the healing of watching her mom pass. And her mom, she did not have a good relationship with her mom. Her mom was an addict. And so she had separated. She had cut ties with her mom for a long time, and showed up one day, just decided one day, okay, her mom called her and she thought, okay, I'm going to take the call. She was glad she did, because her mom passed very shortly after that. And so then it's her story of healing from that. So it's everyone in that book. It's all about what they've had to heal from in their life. And because, you know, obviously it's the group of people that are in that book are healers. So they're all that alternative healing in that light, in that sort of, we'll say the non-traditional Western medicine. It's the other types of medicine. And so it's all in with that in mind, is how they came through it emotionally. It's more of a holistic approach to healing than just, oh, I went and took a pill. It's everything that comes with that.
Right.
The other book, the Detox book, Detox is BLU.
Okay.
And it's a gentleman named Corey Poirier, and he's trying to create something like a TED. So like a TED Talk. So everyone who's in the book has also been interviewed by him. We'll all speak on stage with him at some point, which he'll record and will be online. But it's BLU, and it stands for Business, Life, and Universe. And the reason he's separated, he's done several TED Talks, but the reason he's separated to Business, Life, and Universe is because at the TED Talk, they're not interested in the universe side of things. Like it's all very learning and that type of thing. So he wanted to integrate the whole thing.
American or Canadian?
He's a Canadian.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So is the Heal, actually. It's a woman out in British Columbia that started that business. So lots of people from BC and Alberta in that book. The first one, the women's book, was someone in the US.
Okay.
But
cool.
So Corey's got people from all over. He's got people from all over the world. And his book is exactly that: business, life, and universe. So there's just, again, everyone's stories in all of that. So when I shared my story in there, I talked about sort of all three. I tried to bring in all three because they are all interconnected.
Right.
So the piece that I didn't mention to you was that while all this was happening with my thyroid, I had just left my 9-to-5 job to try and start a business. And so I was, so the stress of all of that was just way too much. Trying to run a business. So I didn't have a consistent income. The income you have when you're running a business is whatever you go out there and find, right? It's not like a steady money, you know, it's not like money just coming in your bank account for showing up.
Right.
It's a lot more work this way. So I talk about that as well. So building this business, and then my boyfriend and his 2 kids moved in about 4 years ago. So 3 years into this whole mess, and that just put another stress on me. So it was all of these books, I'm telling the same story around the thyroid, but a slightly different twist on each of it, because I said some things to my stepkids at times that I think, whoa, where did that even come from? Like, who was that? And, you know, and stuff that I knew better and I feel terrible for, but
you recognize it.
I recognize it now. In that moment, I was so stressed that I just blurted things out that I didn't mean. I didn't call them names or anything like that, but my stepkid's mom had left and moved away. And I was so frustrated with them that I was just ready to be done. And I said to my stepson, I said, if you ever do that again, we won't be living together anymore. That'll be the end of this.
Well, we say some pretty harsh things when we're in the moments of anger, right?
Yeah. And so here's the thing. To a kid whose mother has already left him, that's not something you threaten. Like, and as an adult, I should know better, but it was just in that moment. So yeah. So that piece.
Wow.
And it was really hard because that's not who I am, especially with kids. You know, if you talk to my nieces and nephews, they refer to me as the aunt that is the kid. I just have fun with them. I always have boundaries. They know that, you know, they know what their boundaries are with me. But I also am always taking them and having fun and stuff. So for me to flip to be that was really hard.
Wow, that's a truth bomb right there, Lisa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really, really hard. And I've worked a lot on it in the last little while. Like I said earlier, I found it really interesting that you and I are talking now, because I've just gone into one of those cortisol spikes again, where for the last couple of weeks, I'm having trouble sleeping at night. I'll fall asleep for 10 minutes and then be like wide awake, ready to party. And I've come a long way though. And here's why I say it's more the emotional piece, because that used to just make me angry. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm not gonna be able to do anything tomorrow. And then I would just, you know, go into the rabbit hole of what's going on in your mind. And so then you create these stories in your head. And now I'm like, I'll be fine. I'll get up tomorrow. I'll do what I need to do in the morning. Like what was going through my head last night. Oh, tomorrow's an awesome day anyway. I get to talk to Candace and then I get to do a presentation. If it's not my best one, it's okay. I'll have a nap and I'll do some breathing and exercises before, so that when I get there, I'm as solid as I can be. But you and I were going to be talking about this story anyway. So if I forget something, you'll understand why.
Yeah. And if I forget something, you'll understand why too.
Exactly. So yeah, but that's a big shift from that whole, and I think people can really relate to this. So that whole thing of empathy is that people can relate to this, is that idea of them when you're not sleeping, you look at the clock and go, okay, I only have 3 more hours. I only have 2 more hours. You know,
We talked about this on last week's episode. Yeah, it's true. And then it just creates more of an angst.
Yes. Yeah.
But we're doing it to ourselves.
Yes.
So, but once we become mindful of that, and I use that term loosely because I'm not always mindful of my actions or my thoughts. Or
yes. Yeah. But because it's hard, because you do know that you're going to be tired the next day, right? And when I was at the beginning, I'm in a lot better place now. I did a lot of things with diet and stuff like that. So then I got into a much better place.
Okay.
So that's part of it. But the other part is that when I'm laying there, I go, oh, well, or I get up and come and read, or I had initially started to, well, I'm wide awake. I'll just go do some work. And, you know, this is my task for tomorrow. Well, I'm wide awake right now. I'll just go do the task at 2 a.m. So there was a period where people got emails from me at 2 a.m. and I would say, sorry about the 2 a.m. I'm having trouble sleeping. So just, you know, don't expect that I'm always going to answer your emails at 2 a.m. It just was the time I was awake, and allowing that to be a thing. It was, like I said, it's been a very interesting thing to watch this week. That whole mindfulness is also to be mindful of how far you've come. So 4 years ago, when the kids moved in and I didn't sleep, I would have been an angry person the next day. The last couple of days I haven't been sleeping, and I'm like, oh well, it is what it is. I'll sleep what I can, and when I need to, I'll take a nap. Yeah.
Good for you. You have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah. And not be punishing of yourself or angry, or because that's really what makes all the difference, is really where our mindset around it. So you know what, I've gone 7 years of pushing through tired. It is what it is. I'll eat something different for breakfast. So one of the things I cut out was a lot of the carbs. So I very rarely eat white bread or anything like that. It's just something I struggle with. If I have too much of it, it puts my hormones out of whack again, and nothing good comes of it. So I've cut out a lot of it. Now what I'll do, I have a sourdough rye that I'll eat. And if I'm really struggling, that's what I'll eat for breakfast. So I know that I'm a little tired today. I'll eat that for breakfast. Just gives me a little extra boost.
Cool. Can I just step away from the camera? I want to show you something. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's relevant, I promise.
Okay.
So it was interesting that you said a change of diet. I have a lot to learn about pain, and so what I'm dealing with now. I found this at Chapters, the anti-inflammatory plan. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I think, this is awesome. It talks about all the different, like the science behind it,
Yes.
Good inflammation in the body promotes healing, right? We know that. But what's the bad inflammation and what it causes, the different illnesses, the different, every part in your body that's affected by everything that you consume.
Yeah.
Sugar is a friggin' culprit. I like sugar. I'm never gonna ever, like, it will be the day I die that I drink black coffee. Okay, so just whatever. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'll put sweetener in it, but they even say that's bad too. But
You can choose better ones. If you put something like agave, that would be better. It won't spike your insulin.
Okay, well, I tried it. So I'm learning. There's a lot chronic. Okay, wait. Prevent and reduce chronic inflammation to guard against ill health.
Yes. So this was brilliant. That was huge for me. So, okay, so here's, this is the whole business life universe thing. Okay. So I wasn't getting the help from my doctor. I was getting very frustrated with her. She wasn't listening to me. I tried like reading something off of the internet for her to say, look, this describes what I'm feeling. You're not hearing me. Maybe you'll hear this. And she didn't like that. She thought I was Googling my symptoms. I'm like, oh, good Lord. So finally, what got through to her to make her at least send me for tests was my grandmother fell. So my grandmother had dementia and she was in a nursing home here in Timmins. Okay. And she fell. And the previous time they'd let her go to the hospital by herself. And so I said to my parents, don't ever do that again. You call me and I'll go. So I went to the hospital and we came home at midnight. They still weren't sure what was going on with my grandma. So at midnight, my dad and I came home. So my dad lives an hour from here. He drove in, he met me at the hospital. At midnight, we came home. I made him a bed and we got up to get going. Now my dad is 76 years old and I'm 40. I was at the time anyway. And my dad got up the next morning at 7. I got up with him. I made him breakfast. He went back to go get my grandmother and I went back to bed. And so that's what got my doctor at least starting to get me on testing things. I said, look, my 76-year-old father can handle the world better than I can. And that's ridiculous. Like I should have been able to get up and stay up with him for a day, but I couldn't, had to go back to bed. And so at that point, she started getting me testing with specialists and stuff, and they still said there was nothing wrong with me. So I was like, okay, enough. I went to what they call a medical intuitive. And so she just she sort of just connects with you and looks into your body, what's going on. And she said, you're full of candida. So that's an inflammation that they might talk about in one of your books. So candida we always have candida, but this is an overgrowth of candida. And when you have that, you'll get like muscle pains and lots of different things. So she said, try this cleanse. So I said, okay. So I had no proof that I was full of candida. Just this woman who had connected with me intuitively said I was.
But that's not the one that's like related to like yeast infection.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
it is. Oh,
it
okay.
is. Yeah. So it's an overgrowth of, effectively candida is a yeast. So it's an overgrowth of yeast in your system. And so, so I was like, okay, whatever. So she said, try this cleanse. So it's called Wild Rose Herbal Detox. And I've done it. I went to do it on the third day, my stomach was like in spasms and I was in a lot of pain. Like it was not good. I was really feeling awful. So this company is wonderful. I literally called the number on the back of the box and she called me back within an hour.
Okay.
So, or maybe it wasn't exactly an hour, but within the day. Anyway, so this woman calls me from, and I said, look, this is what's going on. And she goes, is there any possibility that you're full of candida? And I said, yes, there is. And she said, okay, that's what's going on. And so then she told me what to do. I didn't take the pills that go with the cleanse for a couple of days. And then I finished the cleanse. And Candice, it was amazing. So I have been curling my entire life. When I finished this cleanse, I was going away for a tournament with some friends. Now, 2 of us have a bad knee. And by the end of curling, we've just accepted that our knee is going to be in pain. That leg is going to be in pain. The whole knee is going to be in pain and everything. So because I'd done this cleanse and I was still eating clean, so no sugar, so you wouldn't be able to have sugar in your coffee. But so because I'd done this,
people are not happy. Okay.
so I did this. The pain in my leg, there was an ache in my leg, but there was zero pain. Zero pain. The pain in my leg was all due to this candida and inflammation that I had.
Maybe
And
that's
so by
my
doing,
answer.
yeah, by doing this cleanse, all of that pain went away. I'd had pain in my back for a long time. It was gone. There was lots of things that just totally changed. My mind was clearer. I've done it a couple of more times. I don't think I'll do it again because they're quite hard on your body. Like you have to be prepared for it. You have to be prepared with your meal plans and things like that. There's some others that are a little bit easier. There's different juice cleanses and there's tons of different ones. I did really like, I was shocked at this one though, at the difference that it made for me. And then I did it, I think a year later, and it wasn't as drastic as the first time, I'll say.
Okay, so it detoxifies your body.
Yes, and those pains went away. Like for me, anytime I'd played more than 2 curling games in a row, that pain in my leg, like the previous year at the same tournament, I came off the ice in our last game and I didn't think I was going to be able to walk. Like my leg was in so much pain. And I spent the whole weekend, like I have one of those little balls that I would like rub the muscle that was sore the whole time. And my massage therapist tells me where to do that and stuff like that. I'd had physio prior, everything else. And still I walked off the ice on that last game with like in just excruciating pain. I didn't think I would be able to move. The following year I do this cleanse and my leg was achy. That was it.
Okay, how long does the cleanse last?
That one is, I can't remember how long that is. It's a few weeks though. It's like it's 2 or 3 weeks.
So you have great skin.
Oh, thanks.
So is that part of like how you eat? Like, is that why you have great skin?
Yes. So it's part of how I eat. I've also been using products from a friend of mine. And being at home right now, I don't wear a lot of makeup or anything, so that's helpful. But I think a little bit's genetics too. My mom has great skin as well.
Amazing.
But I use these. Yeah, there's a company. I'm not going to be able to think of what her company name is. I'm just going to look it up. Shackley. That's what it is.
Is it local?
No, it's done by selling. So kind of like
network marketing.
Yeah, it's a network marketing company. But it's great. They are zero, or they're, what's that thing where they
parabens?
No, well, yeah, none of that. So none of those things, but they have cleaners. Natural. Yeah, they have cleaners, they have face products, they have a bunch of things, but they're also carbon neutral. There's the word. So they, for all of their shipping and everything else, they do something to offset their carbon emissions.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it's really, really cool in that way. But they do cleanses through that as well. I've never done one of theirs, but it's just a very much focus on eating vegetables and things like that in theirs. Whereas the other one, yeah, there's a lot of restrictions on the other one, but once you get comfortable, you know what you're doing, then you're good to go. And it is amazing. Every now and then I just change my diet. I don't take the pills anymore. I just change my diet and cut out all the sugar and carbs again.
And the pain, how's your pain?
It's not bad. I think I slipped a bit this summer. So I was just thinking that I need to go back to just eating properly now. Like I said, I don't go back fully to the whole thing. I just cut out all the sugars again.
Okay, smart.
Yeah.
I think that these books are going to help a lot of people, and even sharing your message, I think people can relate to it. And hopefully your interview at 12 about empathy, right? Because you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes. And if there's something you can relate to, you've done your job to connect with somebody.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So hopefully that people can relate to it. I know it is a bit of a crazy story. The thyroid being removed in error was, I guess I didn't really explain that. They thought it was growing. They thought it had grown from 2.4 centimeters to 4.2 centimeters in 6 months.
Okay.
Which doesn't happen in a thyroid. It just doesn't happen in a thyroid. Even if it was cancerous, which it wasn't, even if the lump was cancerous, we had done a biopsy, that cancer doesn't grow that fast in your thyroid. Women particularly die with thyroid cancer, not of thyroid cancer. So a lot of women just have thyroid cancer and we never know about it. So
we have enough to deal with.
Yeah.
Pardon me, but
Yeah. You actually might, you maybe won't. I personally think it's related to chakras because our voice isn't heard enough. So when your voice isn't heard, it creates an energy center there. But so they thought this thing was growing from 2.4 to 4.2 in 6 months. But when he took it out, he realized it was still just 2.4. They took it out on a typo.
okay, that's not right.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be so helpful for somebody out there who might be seeking out like some option 2 of like some other opinions on the thyroid. When you said biopsy, I cringed.
I know.
Oh, because I had one. It's like this fine needle. I've never touched my thyroid.
Yes.
When the doctor put that in, I went, oh, and he said, don't move. Oh my God, just give me a bullet.
Yeah, it's not a comfortable feeling. That needle goes in, and they stick it in and then like poke it. Like, what are you doing?
They suck out cells with the needle. It is so horrific. Oh my God.
And they had to move a few times. I was like, stop doing that. Yeah. So they had done that. They'd done that twice with me, and there was no cancer in there. Now, what they did find though, because people have said to me, well, like, why haven't you sued or why haven't you done anything? Because the reason is, and there's part of me that still wants to take it to the hospital to find out what went wrong. But the doctor that actually who actually removed the thyroid is such an amazing doctor. He looked sick when he had to tell me it was only 2.4 centimeters. He had his head in his hands, like he had all this, because people won't see this, he had his hands like separated and all of his fingers around the top of his face, and he was holding his head and his hands were on his knees.
Shame.
Yeah, he felt terrible. And so because of that, there is a lump on the other side. So they only took half. So I do have a lump on the other side, but it's only like 0.8 of a centimeter or something like that. So women, like I said, women constantly, quite often, like I think it's like 80% of us, like there's a really high percentage, have lumps on our thyroid.
That we don't know.
Yes, but we are not aware.
Yeah.
It can be cancerous as well, but we won't know and we won't be aware because it won't harm us, and it's so slow growing that we just don't notice. So it's there. It's not really a concern. I know as soon as people hear the word cancer, they're like, like they start worrying. Thyroid cancer does not move that quickly. You're okay. So what happened with me is two things. One, if you try and sue, they're going to sue the guy who took it out, and it's not his fault. It was not his fault at all. It was the person who did the ultrasound, or the person who read the ultrasound.
Okay.
So I didn't want to do that. But the other piece was they did find cancer in my thyroid. It was 1 millimeter somewhere else in the thyroid. So it wouldn't have been a concern for years. It was fine. I wouldn't have had to have it removed. It was, it's not a concern, but the general thought is that eventually I would have had to have that removed. The reality is eventually would have been, years later. If it continued to grow, it would have been like, I'd have been in my 70s before I needed to have it removed.
Okay.
But when you look back, you can decide either to just be angry about it all the time, which took me a long time to not be angry about it, or just see that, you know what, there was something else going on in my body that I probably never would have found out because I was so high energy. So now I know, and I could do the change of diet, and I could do all of that. And if I hadn't have had that removed, I would have felt healthier, but my body wasn't healthy. It would have shown up somewhere else at some point.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's teaching me a lot.
Yeah. Oh, so the other message I always give when I tell this story is follow your instincts. If your instinct is telling you not to do this, don't let anyone, including a doctor, tell you to do it.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Wow. And unfortunately, you had to learn the hard way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life is supposed to teach us.
Yes.
And like I have PMS right now, and I am a bitch on wheels. But like, obviously, I'm nice to my friends because I'm not having like a bitch moment right now. Yeah. But last night I was in a lot of pain, like here and here and here. Okay, whatever. I just have like my own pain. but like I basically cried myself to sleep last night. Where was I going with that? You said, oh, shit. Sorry.
Oh, follow your instincts. Follow your instincts.
No.
Oh.
Oh, I forget. It had to do with pain.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forget. I don't know.
It'll come back.
Probably not, because I'm so out of time. What was it?
Oh, sorry. It was just so easy. Yeah. But yeah, it's been a long road. But it's like I said, you learn so much. You just learn so much, and I'm sure you have as well. There's so yeah. Found
pain
it?
being a teachable lesson. So when you're going through pain,
yeah,
okay, every single thing in life, this is just a belief of mine, but I'm telling you, I think that it's supposed to teach us. So the people that you meet that give you grief, or you give grief to people, whatever, it's a teachable moment. So I think that this pain that I go through is supposed to teach me something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes me cry, and it's just like,
yeah.
I think the acceptance of the fact is like you were saying, like you're not angry anymore. You accept the fact that, your hormones and everything, your adrenals have been affected. Yep. You've accepted that. Now you just have to change your way. And I think I've accepted it, but maybe I need to just change my way and eat more salads and be like this unhappy, healthy person. I'm like moderately kidding.
No, but you will be really surprised that if you have a lot of inflammation, how much it affects. So I give you the example of my leg, because that was drastic, because literally the year before I couldn't walk off the ice. Like I was struggling to just, and of course, change rooms are in a basement. So not only did I have to come off the ice, I had to walk downstairs, which was horrible. Okay. I got to the change room and I was crying because I was in so much pain. I just sat on the floor and like held my knees. Then the following year, I get through all of the same number of games. Nothing changed. I wasn't working out more. I wasn't stronger. I wasn't any of those things. It was just the cleanse because it went away. But the other thing that happened was emotionally, mentally, I was far more clear mentally. So when I described those days when I was on the couch, I could only watch a Disney movie. Any other movie that required too much of my thought, couldn't, like if I had to follow too closely, I couldn't watch those because I would forget things. Pain, so my brain was foggy. Yeah.
Interferes with like focus.
Yes. And emotionally, I couldn't handle like Surge and the Kids. That's when I was having those outbursts and things like that. So once that was gone, it got a lot better. And now that we're talking, I'm like, oh, my back was a bit sore this morning. I'm wondering if I'm filling back up again. So I maybe just need to cut out the sugar for a while. Because the thing about Candida is the more sugar and carbs that you eat, the more it feeds it, so the bigger it gets. So we all have Candida all the time, but it's whether or not our body is managing it or not.
Like whether it's healthy or not.
Yeah.
Wow. So if we want more information about how you deal with things like this, or where to follow you, or for these books, where can we find Lisa Wilson?
So you can find me at lmwcoaching.ca. And that all my books are on there. So you'll see a title called author. So those books are on there. Mostly what I do is I do the leadership coaching, and I'm focused there business wise. But when I'm telling my story, I'll tell this story. So there's videos on there of me sharing this information.
LMW coaching. So is it Lisa Marie Wilson? Or Lisa
it's actually Lisa May. But yes, close. Yeah.
Okay.
Close.
Awesome.
So it's Lisa May, lmwcoaching.ca, and then you can follow me at LMW Consultation on Twitter, not so much Twitter, but on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Instagram.
Perfect. This has been so nice connecting with you, Lisa. And thank you for having a candid moment with me today.
Thank you so much, Candace. I'm so happy to see you, and this was so much fun.
Thank you so much, and have a beautiful Tuesday.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Lisa Wilson, everyone.